everyone. Thank you for coming and joining the call. First of all, congratulations on completing and passing the certifications in OneForma. Big round of applause to you. My name is Megan, and I'll be presenting today. The content of the presentation is pre-recorded, but my colleagues and I are here to provide any clarifications or explanations that diverge from the presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand and use the microphone, but if you feel more comfortable, you can just add them in the chat. There will be a Q&A session at the end of the session, so you will have time to ask questions. Now, this call is focused on showing you the next steps that you need to take after you complete the certifications in OneForma and how the client tool, that is TryRating, actually looks like and how it works. Before all that, I want to make sure that you have the following email address, which should be your point of contact in the case of any questions or concerns. I'll write it in the chat. It is dgs_milkyway_ushub@scientific.com. This is the email for our US Hub. If you are currently live in this call, your locale is managed by our US Hub. If you are watching this recording separately from a live call, your point of contact will have been communicated to you. Writing to this address will allow all the members of the team to receive your email, and this means that you will get a faster response because everyone on the team will be able to see your email and help you. So make sure to include this address when writing to the team, and make sure it is included if you reply to an email from us. For example, remember to hit reply all. Okay? Now, let's have a look at the timeline for the paid onboarding program. As you already know, you just passed what we call Week 0, which allows you to study the guidelines and take the 2 certifications in OneForma. Week 1 starts when you are added to TryRating and you receive an account added to TryRating email with all the necessary information from the team. This is when you will actually be able to work on the client's tool, so the 2-week countdown starts on that day. There are 2 exams to pass during Week 1, the MAPS entrance exam and the Kuiper exam. Remember that passing these exams is fundamental to access the production and the actual project. After passing the Mars entrance exam, you will be included in production, which is called Uranus, and added to the Kuiper exam, and are expected to complete 8 hours of production in Week 1. The phrasing can be a bit confusing because at this stage, you must pass the Kuiper exam before you can complete the production hours. You are in production in the sense that you will be paid the normal rate for the surveys that you complete, but you will not receive further surveys if you fail the Kuiper exam, so it is crucial to pass this exam to complete the 8 hours of production that is expected. Alright, during Week 2, you are expected to work 20 hours in production, so that between Week 1 and 2, you will have completed a total of 28 hours of production. You can check how many hours of production you have completed in OneForma under Desk, Work Reports, select a report, type TryRating report, and it will appear. Make sure to adjust the time period you would like to see, as the default display time is the past 15 minutes. I will copy that into the chat as a reminder. Now that we've covered the timeline, let's take a look at TryRating itself. The first thing to mention about TryRating is that there is no practice tool. I can't stress this enough, that the first survey that you'll get is the first question of the entrance exam. So please start the exam only if you feel prepared. If you think you need more practice, you can use the practice tool in OneForma. Unlike Certification 2 in OneForma, you don't have to take the MAPS entrance exam in one sitting. There won't be a timer indicating a specific amount of time in which you have to complete the exam. You can do one query, log out, go on with your day, and then log back in to do some more surveys. The system will save your progress, so don't worry, you can leave and come back. Now, let's take a look at what the TryRating platform looks like. The first thing you'll see is the Welcome to TryRating message and the blue banner saying Get a Survey. Again, if you click on this blue banner, you will start with the Mars entrance exam right away, so make sure you are prepared to take the exam. And then let's have a look at an example of a query. Note that there have been some adjustments to the MAPS entrance exam recently, so there may be some minor differences in the survey that I'm showing you and the surveys that you receive, but the overall setup should be the same. As you can see, all the necessary elements are here. On the top left, we have the task type, which says Search 2.0 and not MAPS entrance exam, because the MAPS entrance exam is the entrance exam for the test named Search 2.0. Then down here, we have the task ID, which is important whenever you have questions on a specific task, because if you indicate it in the email, or especially in the Skype group chat, we will be able to look at the specific tasks that you're looking at and have all the necessary elements and context to help you out. Note that the task ID is the longer ID with a series of both letters and numbers. There's a request ID here, which is not present in this example, but the request ID is not what we want. We want the task ID. Just remember, it's the longer one that is both letters and numbers, not just numbers. And then over here, oh, no, wrong thing. Over here, we have the estimated rating time, which is 3 minutes for this task. This is the amount of time that the client has calculated the task will take, and the amount of time that will be recorded per submitted survey. In the beginning, it's normal to take more than the ERT. It's not a problem, but you'll see with time that you will get used to the tool and queries, and you'll get faster. On this note, please be sure to ensure good quality, so don't speed and don't go way below the estimated rating time. Otherwise, the system will suspend your account for speeding. And also always double check before sending the survey, because you won't be able to go back and modify your answers. And then down below here on the left side, we have the map. We have the viewport here in purple. The pin of these are here in blue. And then we have 3 results, 1, 2, and 3. They're pretty spread out in this case. On the right, we have the user locale, which is ENUS. The query, which is Concord Station. Remember that this is what the person searched on the map app. We have the viewport age here, which is fresh. And then we have coordinates for the user location and the viewport location. Remember that the MAPS entrance exam will be on American queries, just like in the second certification in OneForma. Once you've passed the MAPS entrance exam, you will be added to production and you will receive your locale-specific guidelines and start working on locale-specific queries. The phrasing of this can be a bit confusing, as after the MAPS entrance exam, you will be added to production in the sense that you will be paid per survey that you submit, but you will still need to pass the Kuiper exam in order to access production surveys. And then down here below, we have the results to rate. You see 1, 2, and 3. In the version of the MAPS entrance exam that you will see, you will likely be asked to rate all of the results that you were given. That's pretty standard for the Search 2.0 task. You will know that this is the case, as the result will be in white, like this one, and there will be active drop-downs with the relevant fields that you can choose and submit your answers. If you come across results that are grayed out like this and have no option to input any answers, you do not need to rate these results. You only need to rate results that you have the option to rate. So I don't know if you will come across results like this, but just keep that in mind. This confuses a lot of people. The most important thing to keep in mind is that in TryRating, you will need to leave comments. In the case of demotion, you leave one for each result. That is as per the guidelines, if the relevance is below navigational or excellent, or for example, if the name accuracy is not correct. In the comments section, you will need to specify the reason for your demotion. For example, relevance is good because there are is one closer result, or for address accuracy, the correct address is this. Insert the address as shown in the official source, and then you'd insert the link to the website. You will be able to add the URL of the official resource that you use to verify the correct address / name. One trick to not forget inserting comments would be to write comments in any case. So if you get used to writing them always, you won't forget when they are necessary. And then in terms of writing comments, when writing comments, please be sure to be concise. There's no need to write an essay, and write them in English so that the greatest number of people can read and understand them. If you are facing technical issues when taking the test, like the map won't load, no result can be rated, or anything that will impede you from continuing on with the rating, just stop and send us an email with a screenshot of the issue and the task ID so that we can help you and this problem won't affect the final score of the MAPS entrance exam. And then finally, one last thing, there's a blue button up here in the top right corner that says Rating Guidelines, and you should be able to click and access the guidelines for any tasks that you are rating. They will open in another tab. It's loading slowly, but they are here. Now that we've seen what the TryRating platform looks like, I will discuss the stages in more detail, starting with the MAPS entrance exam. Don't worry if you feel like you need to see a bit more of the platform. We will go over how you would rate the survey we just showed you after the Q&A. About the MAPS entrance exam, once you have completed the certifications in OneForma successfully, and you are added to the client's tool, TryRating, you'll have to pass an entrance exam, which is called MAPS entrance exam or the MARS exam. Again, in TryRating you won't have the practice tool like in OneForma, so the first survey that you'll get will be the first question of the exam. As mentioned before, the queries for this exam will be E and US based, so they will refer to queries in English and be based in the United States. The pass rate for this exam is 80%. This means that you must reach at least 80 pass points out of 100. If you reach 21 failed points, the system will automatically evaluate your attempt as a failure, so if the exam stops after only a few surveys, this means that you did not pass the MAPS entrance exam and already reached the maximum number of failed surveys. Unfortunately, the system won't tell you if you have failed or passed, but the No More Survey message will show up in your TryRating page. We will reach out to you about your results, but it usually takes us about 1 business day as we process these things manually. If you fail your first attempt, don't worry, as long as you reach a score of at least 65%. If your score is 65% or higher, you will be granted a second attempt and will be provided with some feedback on the mistakes that you have made to help you pass on your second try. Again, there is no set time limit. You can take days to take the exam, log in and log out from TryRating, and you will always be able to continue with the exam. Once you have successfully completed the MAPS entrance exam with a score of 85% or higher, you will be added to production and the Kuiper exam at the same time. At this time, you will receive locale-specific guidelines and the queries will be from your country and in your language. The first surveys you receive after you pass the entrance exam are the GT for the Search 2.0 task, which is called the Kuiper Golden Test. It consists of about 30 questions that are specific to your locale and language. For this test, the pass rate is 80% and you'll have 2 attempts to pass it as long as you reach a score of at least 60%. Make sure to study your locale's country-specific guidelines before attempting, as they contain crucial guidance for your locale. Please remember that you must pass this test to stay in production and receive tasks. If you fail this GT twice, you will be removed from the project, so make sure to take this seriously, and when in doubt about the ratings, ask for help on Skype. We can't confirm or give away the answers since it's a test, but we'll try to help you. After passing the Kuiper exam, you should be free to start working on real queries and work towards your production goals. While in production, we won't have as much visibility to give you feedback, but you can always write to us with doubts about the guidelines, and we can guide you while rating. Another important thing is that the client wants to be sure that you maintain high quality rating, so you will need to take periodic exams, which we call mini GTs, that is, golden test, to check the quality of your ratings. You will not know if you are rating a GT question, as they will look the same as any other survey. These GTs will affect your overall score, and if your score drops below the passing threshold, you will fail out of the scale, so make sure to consistently aim for high quality ratings. Next, we will move on to some tips and reminders. As mentioned before, please always include comments while rating so that you won't forget to do so when they are strictly necessary. Not including comments when necessary will count as an error and a failed point in the calculation of the tests. It's better to include comments when not required than to miss them when they are required. Next, make sure to avoid speeding while rating. Try to at least take the time indicated by the ERT. That's the estimated rating time. Always double check your choices, make sure you've rated all attributes, and make sure to maintain high quality ratings. The client is able to identify speeders, and your account will be flagged, suspended, and spot checked if you are identified as a speeder. Another essential thing to keep in mind is that this is an in-country job. You must reside in the country of the locale you are working for, so the use of VPNs and any other tool that will conceal your current location is not allowed. Again, the client is able to identify the use of VPNs and IP spoofing programs, so your account will be flagged and removed from the project if you use them. If you use a VPN in your daily life, make sure it is off before you access TryRating. We have to be very strict on the use of VPNs, so please try to avoid any accidents. On this note, please remember not to log in onto the TryRating platform while you are abroad. Otherwise, your account will be flagged, the system will think that you are using VPNs, and suspend your account. Many people ask, hey, I'm going out of country on vacation, can I still work while I'm away? Unfortunately, the answer is no, you must wait until you return to your home country to continue working. Lastly, always inform us if you go on vacation, on sick leave, or for any other reason won't be able to complete at least 10 hours of production per week. That way we won't follow up with you to work more hours while you are away. Alright, now we can start the Q&A session if there are any questions, and then rate together the example that I showed you earlier to have a look at the whole process. Now let's go through the steps of rating a query together. This is the query that I showed you previously. The first thing to do is get a feel for the situation. You have a map here. You can see that we're near San Francisco, so we're in California. And if we zoom in, you can see that the user location, the viewport, and two results are around a city called Concord. If we look over at the results, we can see that there are 3 results, but only one result that we have to rate, and that is result number 1. That is because it is in white, there is the option to rate it, and the rest of the results are grayed out. Next, we should get a feel for the status of the user location, the viewport, and the freshness of the viewport. It looks like the user location is located outside of the viewport, and the viewport is fresh. Usually this means that we should judge distance based on the viewport if the query's location is implicit. It can be good to establish this relationship first to make sure that you're coming at it with a clear mind, but do not do anything until you look at the query. If you're not clear on how to determine the implicit location for a query, sections 2.3.2 and 5.4 of the guidelines lay this out clearly. Now, let's take a look at the query, which is Concord Station, right here. Now, this query can be potentially interpreted in 2 ways, looking for a station in Concord, or looking specifically for one unique station called Concord Station. The first interpretation is a unique case as it is considered a query with a location modifier. in the case of a query with a location modifier, such as Boba Cincinnati or Burger King near me, you should ignore the implicit location that you just established and judge based on whether results are in Cincinnati in the case of the Boba example, or near the user in the Burger King example. The explicit location in a query overrules the implicit location presented by the user viewport and the user location. However, this is additionally a unique case in the sense that it is a transit query with a location modifier. Let's take a look at the result. Here we can see that result number 1 is called Concord Station. We can see the address and the classification says it's a subway station. Put a pin in that. And we can see that the title of the result is in English. So the result name, title, in unexpected language or script scenario does not apply. If we look at the pin, the station is located within Concord. At least that's what it looks like right here. So it appears to be a good match for the query. But how should we rate its relevance? Luckily, there is a section in the guidelines pertaining to this exact scenario. So if we take a look at the guidelines, you will see that this top portion, which is the table of contents, this portion of the document, as well as the Control F keys, are your friends. These are long guidelines, so it can be easy to miss something or forget where you read something. One important thing to note is that a lot of relevant scenarios will be covered in both section 5, right here, you see it starts with relevance, and then we'll have more detailed guidance in section 10, which is how to rate results. So do not forget about section 10, well, do not forget about either section when you are rating queries. Okay, so let's look through the guidelines to find a good section for our scenario. So we have introduction, understanding user intent. These are kind of things you should know in the background, but also reference generally if you need it. And here we have a section on relevance. And if we look down, we can find POIs and transit intent. This is a transit query. So let's see what section 5.16.1 says about transit queries. So here, this guidance says that the criteria described above should be applied and to understand the transit queries. Additionally, if it is determined that a query has a clear navigational intent, all other results will be bad. See the 12th Oakland BART station example below. If a result is promoted to navigational, other results that could potentially satisfy the user intent should be demoted further for distance and prominence. See BART Daly City and Stockport Station examples below. In general, the fewer results that satisfy the user intent, the farther away the results can be and still be considered relevant. The more available results that can satisfy the user intent, the closer they need to be. So this wasn't specific to our situation, but so let's take a look at the examples. In this example here, this is requesting one specific station. It's very clear. I'm looking for the station on 12th Street in Oakland. This is generally looking for BART systems in stations in Daly City. BART is one long transit line, so that is doesn't quite match the scenario we have. But here we have Stockport Station. Stockport is a city in England, and so this looks very much like our query. It's a city plus a station. And let's see what the guidelines have to say about these scenarios. So the first result is Stockport Station. It's a station called Stockport Station in Stockport. Looks like the relevance here is navigational. What does it say? The query intent is for a station in Stockport. Research shows that there are several stations in Stockport, but only one named Stockport Station. So this result fully satisfies the user intent. So if The query is one where it could either be for one specific station or any station in one city. If the name of the station matches the query, it can be considered navigational. But what about other stations within Stockport? So here we have Davenport Station, which is located in Stockport. Heaton Chapel Station, also located in Stockport. The relevance is excellent. What does it say? The query intent is for a station in Stockport. There is one station with a name that matches the query, exactly, which receives the navigational rating. All other stations within the query locality should receive excellent. So basically, any station within Concord can be considered excellent. And then this example is a station that is not called Stockport Station and not in Stockport, but it is in a nearby locality. Manchester is near Stockport. So we can see that because there's only so many stations in Stockport, even though it is not in the locality that the user requested, it can still be considered good. This station is just outside of the requested locality in a neighboring locality. Even though the station is outside of the requested locality, it provides a choice of stations in the area for the user. The fewer choices there are available, the farther away results can be and still be relevant. This result is demoted due to distance. So rating in a situation like this has to deal with 1. Does the station match the query name exactly? Cool, we can give it navigational. Is it a station within the locality? Perfect, we can rate it excellent. Is the station in a neighboring locality nearby? Well, that will depend on if there's many stations in the requested locality or if there are only a few. But oftentimes, they can be rated good, acceptable. It's only in the case that there are, say, 20 stations in the requested locality that results outside of that locality would be considered bad. Okay, so let's return to our rating. And so we can, since this is Concord Station, matches the query completely, we can rate it as navigational. And now we have to look at name accuracy, address accuracy, and pin accuracy. Okay, so let's take a look at name accuracy. First, we need to find an official source for the station. So in here, I've searched the query Concord Station, CA for California. Sometimes it can be useful to add a location modifier to your query just to make sure there's not a Concord Station in Idaho or something. And so we just have to find the official source. You can see there's Wikipedia. This looks like the correct source because it's run by the BART system. Let's just open that in a new tab. And these are not official sources, so we can ignore them. And so we confirm the name. It is Concord Station. Check very carefully, make sure things are spelled correctly, and we can see that this is a match here. So name accurate. Oh, the thing is, you gotta take a step back when rating name accuracy, because there's a second component to rating name accuracy, and that is the classification accuracy. If the classification is incorrect or misspelled or has any other issues, that can make the name accuracy incorrect. So we see the classification is a subway station. It doesn't look like it's misspelled or anything, so what we're going to do is look and see, is this accurate to what the station is? Always do research to confirm the classification accuracy, but for save time, I know that the Bay Area Rapid Transit system is a subway system. We can see it is a subway tramish system here, and we can see that the route is that of a subway. So if we go back to the rating, name accuracy, because both, there it goes, both the result name and the classification are correct, we can rate name accuracy as correct. Moving on to address accuracy, we have our address here, 1451 Oakwood Avenue, Concord, CA 94520, United States. Now, what does the official website say for the address? So it is 1451. That matches what was on the result. Oakland Avenue. Now that is something to look at. Remember, that was not what I just said. But if we continue on, Concord, CA, California, that's the city we looked at 94520. Let's just double check. 94520. Now, let's take a look back at the street name. Oakwood Avenue. Now let's go back. Oakland Avenue. So these are different. It can be really easy to miss if you read it quickly. These are different. So address accuracy is not correct. Just a note, be very careful when confirming postcodes. We saw that this is correct, but it is easy to mix up numbers and get confused with two numbers that look alike. And be wary of situations like this, where the name is similar, but it's incorrect. Now let's go back to our rating. So, nope, we did name accuracy. Address accuracy is incorrect. And so now we have to input what portion of the address is incorrect. It is the street name. And we double checked, everything else is correct. If another component were correct, you can choose multiple components at a time. Okay, finally, we will take a look at pin accuracy. There are a few options: perfect, approximate, next door, wrong, and can't verify. Now, if we zoom in, you can see where the pin is and where the station is. Remember, there are two different views. There is the standard vector map view and the satellite view. You should rate based on which view is more generous to the pin. And so we can look here, there's kind of a roof here, there's some stairs, but let's see, one, confirm that this is Concord Station, because this could be on another building, and two, see if we can see what we're looking at a little better here. Now, so let's look at the pin location. We'll just copy this lat long from the result, that is the lat long for this pin, and let's go to a mapping website. Paste the lat long, and we'll see what we have here. Now, Google will give pins for businesses, addresses, etc. Do not rely solely on those pins to determine the location of a result. They are often incorrect, they are not perfect, so you want to make sure you confirm using street imagery, government websites, etc. Also, Google, Bing, etc. will return addresses that do not exist. It's just the way their data is. It's not associated with a house, or maybe it is, but it is wrong. So do not assume an address exists because Google returned it. Okay, so let's see what's in street imagery. Looks like we can't get close to the station up here, we can see that that's where the line runs across, and that's where people wait. And that's that roofed area that we saw in the street imagery. This is the road right next to it. And just to confirm, we can tell it's a station that, here's the signage that confirms that this station is Concord Station. So we know what we're looking at is Concord Station. Now let's return to the street imagery. Remember, use street imagery in this map, not rate the pin location based on street imagery in that map, not the location in the Google's imagery, because they may differ. And so we see that this is pretty close, right on the line of that rooftop where we saw people waiting, and this one is slightly off. So let's rate based on the satellite view, and let's see what the guidelines have to say about rating pins for transit stations and what to do in the situation that is kind of borderline like this. So let's go back up to here. We're rating pin accuracy, so let's find the section. And then pin accuracy for transit POIs. Remember, transit POIs have unique considerations when rating pin accuracy. So this information that you would have reviewed previously. So we have bus, tram, and streetcar stops. That's not what we're looking for. Those would be on the side of a street. Transit POI with multiple rooftop/platforms. This looks like what we are rating. If the POI rooftop has multiple rooftop/platforms, apply similar ideas from the campus complex pin in the guidelines when determining the valid area for the pin to land on. For campuses complex, a polygon was created using the boundaries of the campus. Use the same concept for transit POIs and create a polygon for the transit POI using the POI's multiple rooftop platforms. So basically what it is saying is in this image here, there's drawing a polygon across the waiting areas, different platforms, and note that it does include the area where the track is between. It's this area between platforms is still considered perfect. So let's actually look at this one, because it's the same idea, but this may be this matches our example a bit more. So some transit stops only have a platform where a user can wait for the transit. The perfect area is this green area here, where a user would wait for a transit, or the area between where a user would wait for a transit. So that's like what I said, it's the tracks in between are still considered perfect. Approximate is the area within 50 meters of where you would wait for the transit, or within the transit stop parking lots of the surrounding property, up to where the half and half rule allows. And a wrong pin is basically everywhere else, and you would see the can't verify section if you can't verify it. Now we noticed that this pin was kind of on the line. If we look at this map, we identified that this is where people are waiting, so that would be the perfect section. The perfect section would be along here. But this is kind of on the line. What would we do in that case? If we go back up to the top, if you know the section, you probably won't have to scroll all the way to the top, but let's see the tennis rule. That's what helps us figure out things on the line. This is the half and half rule up here. The tennis rule is here. To address close calls, apply the tennis rule. If the tip of the pin is still touching the line, the pin is considered inside the boundary. If the tip of the pin is outside, it is outside the boundary. So basically, if the pin touches, it's in. If it doesn't touch, it's out. So we can say this touches and rate perfect for pin accuracy. Now you're not done quite yet, because you still have to leave a comment. And so you normally don't have to leave a comment for relevance if the relevance is excellent or above, but let's just leave it here just for example's sake. So result is navigation. It is a station that matches query perfectly. Name accuracy is correct. Now it's address accuracy that's an issue. Address accuracy is incorrect, as the street name is incorrect. Now let's just put in what the address should be. You can just copy it here. Sorry, I did not copy it. Should be this. According to the official website that we got this from. And then finally, accuracy is perfect according to street imagery. And if you wanted to, you can always take a shot of the street imagery. You can click the see more dates. No, not see more dates. You can click these 3 buttons in a stack. Share or embed image, copy this link, and then point to at the link of where you were looking in street imagery. This will link directly to this view. Now, like I said, in this case, we are adding comments for things that don't need comments. The relevance is navigational, so it doesn't need a comment. Accuracy is correct, doesn't necessarily need to be mentioned, and the pin accuracy is perfect. It's good to include the source that you used to confirm your pin accuracy, but otherwise, the main thing you need to leave a comment about is the address accuracy. But it's best to be as detailed as you can. So this is a bit more detail than usual, but the more detail you put, the better. Just don't write too long, too detailed. If you're writing comments that are putting you over the ERT, you can probably shorten them. Okay, and just a reminder, before you submit, double check that you have rated the way you intended to. I've seen a few surveys where people write in the comments that address accuracy is this, and then the answer they inputted was a different answer. So just always double check your answers, and then you would hit submit. And that is the walking through how to rate this query. If you have any questions, we can address them now. Otherwise, if you're listening online, that is the end of this video. Thank you.